I'm going to be bringing you guys by far my most extensive defensive scheme I have ever put out. We all know that playing defense in this year's Madden can be next to impossible, so we need a scheme that really can be effective against anything that we come up against. This defense is going to be based off three main ideas. The first is we want to be multiple with different defensive looks and formations. The second is disguising everything we do and trying to create confusion for our opponent. Then the third idea is having a super strong match coverage defensive base to our scheme. Now we are going to be running all of this out of the New England Patriots Defensive Playbook, and then I'm going to be referring to this scheme as our Pat's multiple defensive scheme. So when I say we are going to be multiple, that means we're going to be sending various defensive looks at our opponent. This is going to allow us to react to whatever the offense sends our way and just give us an answer to every game situation we are in. So we're really going to be looking at three different defenses in this scheme, and the first one is going to be nickel 2-4-5. This is kind of going to be our base D, and it is a very balanced defensive set, and we can throw a ton of variations of different defensive coverages and blitzes at our opponent while still having a really solid run D. Then for our heavy run defense and red zone defense, we are going to be looking at 6-1 even. This is a super heavy set with really solid run D that is really going to help us limit those offenses who just want to pound the rock over and over. And then lastly, we're going to be breaking down dime 2-3-6. Now this is going to give us a ton of speed and athleticism all over the field, and I was able to come up with some really crazy unique blitzes out of this scheme that is going to give our opponent absolute fits. With this defensive alignment, we are really just trying to create chaos and force our opponent into making mistakes, whether that is taking sacks or throwing interceptions. The next pillar of this defense is disguise. We want all of our looks in our different formations to look as similar as possible. This is going to allow us to cycle through different coverages and different blitzes without our opponent getting a read on what we are going to do pre-snap. The outcomes we are really looking for with our disguise is really just making our opponent hold the ball for a half second longer to let our blitzes come in, or get confused by our defensive look and make really bad reads. Then the last pillar of this defense is going to be our match coverage base. I really think this is the best way to play coverage in Madden 22, and it is going to confuse a ton of opponents. Most Madden players really have no idea how to attack match coverage, and even those that do, we're going to have different unique adjustments for every formation they come out in that is really going to help cause confusion. I also think this is the most fun way to play. We are going to have multiple checks at the line of scrimmage depending on what formation and alignment our opponent comes out in. This is really going to keep you incredibly engaged throughout the whole game and really keep you on your toes. Now I've already done extensive breakdowns on exactly how to run cover 4 quarters, cover 4 palms, and cover 6. So I really won't be breaking those down in depth again for this scheme, but I will leave a link in the description with a playlist with all those breakdowns in it, and I will really be referencing those videos a ton throughout this whole scheme, so you guys should definitely check those out after this video if you haven't seen them yet. Then on my channel membership page, I've also broken down how to use match coverage against the meta offenses like gun bunch and trips tight end. Then also today I actually released the first video out of this multiple D Patriots scheme, and it is going to be a really nice user blitz out of nickel 2-4-5, and I plan on releasing a ton more out of this defensive scheme on my membership page. So if you really want to take this scheme to the next level, click the join button down below. And I'm going to get into our ability point breakdown and the personnel we want to use in each one of these formations. All right guys, so we're going to go over nickel 2-4-5 first. This is really going to be our base defense. This is what we're going to be in a ton, so this is really the one I'm going to spend the most time on. If you look in the top right corner there, that is going to be kind of our ability point breakdown, and then I'll kind of break down each position and where we want to use our ability point. But really this is where we're going to live. Maybe 60% of the time is in this nickel 2-4-5. A ton of match coverage, some really nice blitzes on the way out of it. So our two outside corners are going to be Mike Haynes and Trevon Diggs, and really what we're looking for with these outside players is really good speed and really good man coverage ability. A lot of the time when we are running match coverage, it is going to convert to man coverage on the back end, so speed and man coverage are huge for these two guys, and on both of these guys I am running acrobat. Then at our two safety positions, we are running Jalen Ramsey and Patrick Surtain. Now these are going to be similar to our outside corners. We want speed and man coverage ability, but these players have to be able to react better in the run, be a little more physical in their run fits, and just help stop the run. And I do like a little bit bigger, taller players at these spots spot, because one of these two is going to be our user on about 90% of the defensive snaps. And once again, we are going to throw Acrobat on both of these players. Then at our nickelback, I have Charles Woodson. Once again, man coverage and speed are important, like always for defensive backs, but he's going to be playing more zone than the players on the back end. So I do like, good zone coverage, and he's got to be good in the run. He's more in the box, and he has to be a good blitzer, because he is really going to be our main blitzer for this nickel 2-4-5 and our dime 2-3-6. And then I also put flat zone KO on this player, just really going to react better in the flat and help us get more knockouts. Then at our two linebackers, I like to play safeties, so I have Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu. Really, we want all-around players. These are two super important positions. They need to be good against the run, good man coverage, good zone coverage. They're going to be blitzing sometimes too. They have to be able to stop the run. So we want complete players at these spots. And I like mid-zone KO on at least one of them. Right now, Ed Reed is only 1 AP for mid-zone KO. So I have mid-zone KO on him. And then Polamalu doesn't have any abilities. Then at our two DNs, we are going to be running a 4-man pass rush out of the nickel 2-4-5 a ton. So we need a really strong pass rush with just 4 players rushing at these DN spots. Get really strong pass rushers. Now in our zone blitzes, they will be dropping back into coverage a little bit. Zone coverage is a bonus, but really we are looking for pass rushers. Oh, and at these two spots, I have Ted Hendricks and Derek Thomas, and I actually have Bogo on Derek Thomas. Just help him with his pass rush, get it home a little quicker. Then at our 2D tackles, we have Aaron Donald and Warren Sapp. Now once again, 4-man pass rush, they have to be really solid pass rushers, but I do like players who are going to play the run well also. So balanced defensive tackles, and then I have inside stuff on Warren Sapp as well. All right, so now we're going to get into this dime 2-3-6. Now this is a super fun defense to play. I'm going to be really getting into it, how we can create this really unique pressures, really unique defensive alignments that's going to cause a ton of confusion for your opponent. This is all about either bringing heat or dropping into coverage and just, really making our opponent unsure on where we're bringing our blitzes from and what coverage we're playing on the back end. So as far as our personnel, all the defensive backs are going to be the same, and then our abilities are going to be the same, obviously. Then our linebackers and defensive tackles are going to be the same as well. Only real big difference, guys, is we are actually going to sub out Derek Thomas, and I like to put Ray Lewis in at this spot at the 1 defensive end position. Really, the main reason for that is because we're going to be bringing a lot of zone blitzes, so he's going to be dropping out into coverage, a pretty decent amount of the time. So we want somebody with, better coverage stats on the back end. So we have at our 2 DNs, we have Ted Hendricks and Ray Lewis in dime 2-3-6, and we actually have Lurker on both of these players. That is going to really allow them to be better in coverage, because stock linebackers do not jump in this game. So throwing Lurker on these players allows them actually to jump up and high point the foot. And then you see our linebackers also just talking about kind of how our alignment is. We have one linebacker in the middle, then our other linebacker actually walks down to the line of scrimmage, and we actually have kind of like a 6-man front, and that is going to allow us to bring home some really nice blitzes. Okay, now we're going to get into our 6-1 even. Now this is our run defense. If they come out in I form, this is like, I think, a pistol heavy set, multiple tight ends, multiple running backs. We are going to go to this 6-1 even, and then also in the red zone, we are going to call this defense. So if you look at the alignment, we have 4 down linemen with 2 outside linebackers beside him. That is where that 6 front comes into play, and then we have 1 linebacker in behind them. Then if we look at our secondary, obviously it's going to be the same with our corners and safety, so we're not really going to get into that, but we are subbing our nickel off the field, and we're putting another defensive lineman out there, more linebackers. So we'll talk about the linebackers. At that middle linebacker spot, I like to throw Ray Lewis in there. Once again, we have Lurker on this player as well. That's going to help him in pass coverage, but really we want a complete linebacker at this spot. He's got to be fast, he's got to have good zone coverage ability, and then he's really got to be able to fill in the run. We are using this against, people who want to run the ball a ton. And then our outside linebackers, I have Ted Hendricks all around. This is one of the best cards in all of MUT right now. He's a complete linebacker. He can pass rush. He's really good in coverage. He's like 6'7", so he is great in this scheme. And then at the other spot, we have Devin Bush, another really good coverage linebacker, but still able to stop the run. These players aren't going to pass rush a ton. They're going to be playing coverage quite a bit, if they do drop back. So not worried about pass rush quite as much, but it is a bonus. And then for our 4 down linemen, I am running Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, Warren Sapp, and Reggie White. Really, we are looking for kind of those DN, D tackle tweeners who are big bodies, really able to stuff the run in the inside and try to make it as impossible as we can for the offensive linemen to get movement and get to the second level and pick up our linebackers and safeties. And then as a bonus, we do want some decent pass rushing on the inside as well, but really we are looking for run stuffers at these spots. Now, if you guys really want to unlock this defense and run it to the best of its abilities, make sure you check out my membership page. And it is super important in this scheme to understand match coverage. So if you want to see a complete breakdown of cover 4 quarters, you need to watch this video right here.